When we think about taking care of our pets, the first and most instinctive action we take is feeding them. We buy quality food, ensure feeding schedules are consistent, and perhaps even explore specialized diets based on breed, age, or medical condition. And while nutrition is undeniably vital foundational, it is far from the full picture of what animals need to live balanced, healthy lives. Nutrition is a baseline. It sustains the body, it powers organs, supports immune function, and regulates energy. In the wild, however, the act of eating is never isolated. It's part of a broader behavioral and cognitive experience. Animals forage, hunt, explore, and problem-solve as part of acquiring their meals. That process activates reward systems in the brain, engages motor systems, and promotes cognitive resilience. When we reduce nourishment to simply placing a bowl of food down twice a day, we are removing a key dimension of how an animal relates to its environment and how it maintains a sense of agency and engagement. Science tells us that the gut and brain are intricately connected. The gut microbiome, which is influenced heavily by diet, has a direct impact on mood, stress resilience, and even learning. In humans and animals alike, gut health can influence serotonin in production, which regulates mood and behavior. So yes, high-quality nutrition supports the physiological systems that underlie behavior and emotion. But we must not confuse biochemical support with holistic well-being. When you feed your pet, you're not just giving them calories. You are giving them a ritual. You're providing structure to their day. But structure alone isn't enough. Animals, especially domesticated ones, have adapted to a rhythm of life with humans that involves more than just sustenance. Their brains are wired for stimulation, interaction, exploration, and reward. The bowl provides nourishment, but it doesn't fulfill the instinctual need to work for food, to solve problems, to feel accomplishment. Many pets, particularly dogs and cats, evolved from species that spent a significant portion of their day acquiring food. This could mean tracking scents, chasing prey, or digging and scavenging. These weren't just survival behaviors. They were integral to how their nervous systems developed and maintained equilibrium. When we remove those challenges entirely and replace them with passive feeding, we inadvertently suppress opportunities for neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to adapt, learn, and grow. Food can and should be used as more than a source of energy. It can be a tool, a medium through which we build trust, encourage exploration, and reward adaptive behavior. Simple changes, like using puzzle feeders, snuffle mats, or training sessions where pets earn food, can activate cognitive systems and mimic naturalistic behaviors. These small adjustments go far beyond filling a bowl. They tap into the animal's evolutionary needs and help regulate dopamine and oxytocin, the same neurochemicals that drive motivation, reward, and bonding. There's also the element of emotional safety that surrounds feeding. Animals thrive in predictable environments. Consistency in feeding times can signal safety and reduce anxiety, particularly in rescue animals or those with trauma histories. But emotional security doesn't only come from routine. It comes from quality of engagement. When we use mealtime as a point of contact, speaking softly, maintaining eye contact, offering affection, we help reinforce a sense of belonging and reduce cortisol, the stress hormone. Beyond this, the absence of enriched feeding routines can lead to a number of behavioral issues that are often misattributed to poor training or disobedience. Destructive behavior, excessive vocalization, or restlessness are sometimes cries for stimulation, not defiance. If a dog tears through the trash or a cat climbs every surface in sight, we need to ask not just what are they doing, but what need is going unmet. Often, it's the need to engage cognitively and physically in the way they were wired to. Even more nuanced is the role of feeding in multispecies relationships. How we manage food among multiple pets affects their social dynamics and perceived fairness. Competition, guarding, and anxiety around mealtime can emerge if feeding routines aren't mindful of individual personalities and past experiences. In shelters and multi-pet homes alike, equitable and thoughtful food distribution can make a profound difference in behavioral health. Nutrition is essential, but when stripped of context, interaction, and variability, it becomes a static act. It satisfies the body, but it can miss the brain, the senses, the drive for meaning. Food is a vehicle. It can be a bonding opportunity, a problem to solve, a reward, a challenge, a conversation. When we use it only to fill a bowl, we limit its potential to nourish the full spectrum of what our pets truly need. When we consider the emotional well-being of our pets, we often focus on affection, companionship, and care routines like feeding, grooming, and exercise. While these elements are undoubtedly important, there is a key component that frequently goes overlooked: mental stimulation. Just like humans, animals possess a cognitive system that craves engagement, novelty, and challenge. Without proper mental stimulation, even the most well-fed and physically healthy pet can experience stress, frustration, or signs of behavioral decline. Mental stimulation refers to activities and experiences that challenge an animal's brain, encouraging problem solving, memory recall, decision making, and sensory engagement. It taps into the neural pathways that support learning, curiosity, and emotional regulation. In both wild and domestic animals, cognitive engagement plays a vital role in developing resilience and adaptability. When a pet's environment lacks mental complexity, their nervous system receives fewer signals of novelty and reward, leading to underactivation of brain regions tied to satisfaction and well-being. From a neuroscience standpoint, mental stimulation is closely tied to dopamine release. Dopamine is a neurotransmitter associated with motivation, pleasure, and anticipation. It is released not only when a reward is received, but also when a challenge is presented that an animal believes it can overcome. This is a crucial distinction. The brain doesn't just respond to rewards, it responds to the opportunity to earn them. This is why enrichment activities such as interactive toys, training games, and scent trails can be so impactful. They activate the reward system and promote a sense of agency and control in the animal. Agency, the ability to affect one's environment, is central to emotional health in all sentient beings. When a pet is mentally stimulated, it learns that its actions produce meaningful outcomes. This reduces feelings of helplessness, boredom, or anxiety. In contrast, animals in environments with little cognitive engagement may develop signs of learned helplessness, where they stop attempting to interact or explore, having concluded that their actions no longer have any effect. Mental stimulation also plays a role in mitigating behavioral issues. Pets that are understimulated mentally often redirect their energy into unwanted behaviors like excessive barking, chewing, scratching, digging, or escaping. These behaviors are not simply signs of bad training. They are often symptoms of unmet cognitive needs. The brain, in the absence of proper stimulation, seeks ways to discharge excess energy and emotion. This can create a feedback loop of frustration for both the pet and the human caregiver, where behaviors are punished without the underlying cause being addressed. Different animals require different forms of mental stimulation depending on their species, breed, age, and individual temperament. A working breed dog, for example, may need more structured problem-solving activities like agility courses, fetch with a twist, or advanced obedience training. A cat might prefer puzzle feeders, climbing challenges, or hide and seek games. Even small animals like rabbits, parrots, or guinea pigs benefit from cognitive enrichment in the form of foraging opportunities, object manipulation, or novelty in their surroundings. Sensory stimulation is a critical part of this mental engagement. Animals perceive the world in ways very different from humans, with senses often far more acute than ours. Dogs rely heavily on olfaction, cats on spatial awareness and motion detection, birds on auditory and visual cues. Incorporating sensory play into daily routines, such as rotating toys, changing scents in a room, playing natural sounds, or introducing new textures, can help provide the novelty the brain craves without overwhelming the animal. Social interaction can also serve as mental stimulation. Animals are inherently social beings, and their cognitive systems are attuned to communication, whether with humans, other animals, or both. Training sessions, cooperative play, and even eye contact or voice recognition activate specific neural networks tied to bonding and learning. When these interactions are thoughtful and dynamic, they nourish not only the emotional connection between pet and owner, but also the animal's brain development and adaptability. Age is another factor that affects mental stimulation needs. Puppies and kittens require more frequent but shorter bursts of engagement to match their developmental windows. Adult pets benefit from sustained and varied mental challenges. Senior animals, often mistakenly assumed to be content with rest alone, actually need targeted mental enrichment to slow cognitive decline. Just as in aging humans, ongoing mental activity can help preserve memory, attention, and emotional regulation in aging animals. Failing to provide mental stimulation can have long-term consequences that go beyond behavioral issues. Chronic understimulation can lead to increased levels of cortisol, the body's primary stress hormone, which in turn can suppress immune function, disrupt digestion, and impair sleep. Over time, this state of chronic low-grade stress may compromise not just the pet's happiness, but their physical health as well. In the daily life of a pet, the balance between routine and novelty plays a crucial role in maintaining psychological and emotional well-being. Animals, much like humans, require a structured environment to feel safe, but they also benefit deeply from exposure to new experiences. This balance is not a contradiction. It is a dynamic tension that, when properly managed, supports both stability and growth. Routine creates a sense of predictability and security, while novelty introduces opportunities for engagement, stimulation, and learning. Understanding this interplay is essential to truly supporting a pet's inner world. Routine is comforting. It provides a framework for the brain to anticipate events, reducing anxiety and uncertainty. Feeding schedules, walk times, play sessions, and sleep patterns all contribute to a rhythm that pets come to rely on. When their world becomes predictable, animals are more likely to relax, regulate their emotions, and develop a secure attachment to their environment and caregivers. This sense of predictability calms the nervous system, particularly in species that are naturally alert or prone to hyper-vigilance, such as dogs. The brain is always scanning for safety, and routine tells the brain that there is no imminent threat. From a neurobiological perspective, routine helps stabilize circadian rhythms, which govern sleep, appetite, and hormonal balance. Disruptions in daily patterns can throw off melatonin in production, cortisol cycles, and digestive efficiency, leading to behavioral and health issues over time. Inconsistent schedules can result in sleep disturbances, mood swings, and increased reactivity, especially in animals that have a heightened sensitivity to environmental changes or past trauma. Establishing and maintaining a consistent routine is one of the most effective ways to create an emotionally grounded pet. However, while routine provides safety, it can also become monotonous if left unbalanced. Over time, a completely unchanging environment can lead to cognitive dullness, apathy, or behavioral restlessness. Animals, especially those with higher intelligence or working backgrounds, require challenges to remain mentally sharp. This is where novelty becomes essential. Novelty activates the brain's reward system, enhances neural plasticity, and fosters adaptability. It introduces surprise, curiosity, and opportunity, prompting the animal to engage with its surroundings in new ways. Novelty does not need to be extreme to be effective. It can be as simple as taking a different walking route, introducing a new scent in the environment, rotating toys, or teaching a new command. These small shifts offer the brain new data to process, creating fresh connections in the neural network. The result is an animal that is more flexible, alert, and confident in its ability to navigate the world. In fact, studies in animal behavior have shown that moderate, well-managed novelty exposure improves emotional resilience and problem-solving skills across a wide range of species. There is a biological basis for the brain's response to novelty. Novel stimuli trigger the release of dopamine, which drives exploration and learning. Dopamine is not just a pleasure chemical. It is about motivation and seeking. When a pet encounters something new that it can explore safely, its brain registers the experience as both stimulating and rewarding. Over time, these experiences build a richer internal map of the world, allowing the animal to approach new situations with confidence rather than fear. However, the introduction of novelty must be calibrated. Too much unpredictability, especially in a previously traumatized or anxious animal, can backfire. The key is to introduce new elements gradually and in a controlled manner, anchored by the safety of the existing routine. This creates what psychologists call a secure base, a stable foundation from which the animal feels safe to explore. It is not about flooding the animal with stimulation, but about gently expanding its comfort zone. It is also important to consider the individual temperament of the pet. Some animals are naturally more adventurous and thrive on frequent change, while others are cautious and prefer slower adjustments. Observing and understanding each pet's response to novelty allows for personalized enrichment that respects their personality and needs. A highly active dog might enjoy agility exercises with new challenges each week, while a more reserved cat might benefit from quiet exploration of a new tunnel or perch introduced into a familiar space. Seasonal changes, holiday events, and even changes in the household can be opportunities to integrate novelty in thoughtful ways. The smell of fallen leaves, the feel of snow, or the presence of a new person or pet can serve as natural stimuli. What matters most is that the caregiver recognizes the value of these changes and supports the animal in processing them safely. In doing so, novelty becomes not a stressor, but a tool for enrichment. The interplay between routine and novelty is a foundational aspect of holistic pet care. When animals have a predictable structure paired with thoughtful variation, their nervous systems are supported on multiple levels. They feel safe, but not bored, engaged, but not overwhelmed. This balance nurtures both the calm of the familiar and the excitement of the unknown. Communication with our pets goes far beyond giving commands or expecting obedience. While training and behavioral cues are important aspects of living with domesticated animals, they represent only a fraction of the communication landscape. Real communication is about connection, understanding, and the constant flow of signals, verbal, non-verbal, energetic, and emotional, that pass between species sharing space and time. Pets are continuously observing us, decoding our tones, body language, facial expressions, and even our internal emotional states. They are experts in subtlety, often picking up on cues we are unaware we're giving. Most of what we convey to our pets is non-verbal. Our body posture, our level of tension, the pace of our movements, the inflection in our voice, these all communicate volumes. Animals evolved in environments where the ability to quickly interpret physical cues meant the difference between safety and danger, or connection and isolation. This sensitivity is not lost in domestication. Dogs, for example, have a highly developed ability to read human gestures and emotions, often responding more to how something is said than what is said. Cats, while more independent in behavior, are equally attuned to the emotional climate of their environment and the consistency of interactions. When communication is one-sided, when we issue commands without paying attention to feedback, we risk turning the relationship into one of control rather than connection. True communication involves listening. Listening in this context means observing. It means noticing the flick of a tail, the way ears shift position, the subtle withdrawal of the body, or the dilation of pupils. These are not random behaviors, they are expressions. They are the pet's language. When we learn to interpret these signals with empathy and accuracy, we begin to build mutual understanding. We stop reacting and start responding. Empathic communication also acknowledges that animals have emotional experiences. They feel joy, frustration, anxiety, affection, and anticipation. These emotions color their responses to our actions and to their environment. Speaking to our pets in a calm, intentional tone, using eye contact appropriately, and matching our energy to theirs are all ways to build trust and clarity. Communication becomes a bridge, allowing us to co-regulate with our animals, helping them calm down when stressed or energize when playful, all through the way we engage with them. It's also important to recognize that silence is a form of communication. Our absence, our withdrawal of attention, or even our passive body language can convey strong messages. Pets are acutely aware of shifts in our presence and emotional availability. When we are distracted, disengaged, or emotionally closed off, they often respond with confusion, insecurity, or attention-seeking behaviors. Being present with our pet, truly present, is one of the most powerful forms of communication we can offer. It says, without words, I see you, I am here with you. Interactive communication, such as play, shared routines, and mutual exploration, strengthens the bond further. These moments are rich with feedback loops. When we throw a toy and the dog brings it back, when we call softly and the cat chooses to come close, when we open a window and the bird tilts its head toward the new sounds, these are all dialogues. They are mutual engagements where both beings participate, respond, and influence one another. Through repetition and shared experience, these interactions deepen into a language of familiarity. Training, when done with respect and awareness, can also be a powerful form of communication. But its purpose should extend beyond control or obedience. It should be a shared activity that builds clarity and confidence in both the pet and the human. Positive reinforcement-based training, where desired behaviors are rewarded and understood through consistency and encouragement, fosters a sense of cooperation rather than fear or submission. It is a conversation where the pet learns not just what we want, but that we are safe to engage with, learn from, and trust. Miscommunication often lies at the root of many behavioral issues. When a pet acts out, resists, or withdraws, it is not necessarily a refusal to cooperate. It may be a sign that our messages are unclear or that their signals are being ignored. By investing in the relationship as a two-way dialogue, we move beyond dominance models or strict behavioral expectations. We instead create an environment where both human and animal feel heard, valued, and safe to express themselves. Communication also evolves over time. As we live with our pets, we develop a unique rhythm of understanding. A look, a sound, a gesture becomes loaded with meaning because it has been reinforced through shared experience. These personalized languages are beautiful representations of the bond between species. They demonstrate that communication is not something we impose. It is something we build together through patience, consistency, and genuine attention. Behavior in animals is often seen through a narrow lens, interpreted as either good or bad, obedient or disobedient, trained or untrained. But behavior is far more complex than a simple moral categorization. It is, at its core, biology in motion. Every action a pet takes, from wagging a tail to barking at a stranger to hiding under a bed, is an expression of internal physiological states influenced by hormones, neural activity, past experiences, genetic predispositions, and environmental stimuli. Observing behavior through this biological lens allows us to respond with curiosity and compassion rather than judgment or frustration. At the foundation of all behavior lies the nervous system. The brain, spinal cord, and peripheral nerves constantly process information from the environment and the body itself, generating responses that are aimed at survival, regulation, and interaction. When a dog growls, a cat hisses, or a parrot screeches, it is not being difficult. It is communicating a stress signal, an unmet need, or a perceived threat. These signals are outputs of biological systems doing their job to protect the organism or return it to a state of balance. By understanding this, we shift our mindset from control to interpretation and from reaction to relationship. Stress is a major driver of behavior in pets. Acute stress, such as encountering a loud noise or unfamiliar person, activates the sympathetic nervous system, often referred to as the fight, flight, or freeze response. This is a biological reflex designed to protect the animal from danger. Chronic stress, however, which might result from lack of stimulation, inconsistent routines, or unresolved trauma, alters baseline behavior over time. Animals under chronic stress may become hypervigilant, withdrawn, aggressive, or overly attached. These patterns are not character flaws. They are biological adaptations to environmental pressures. Hormones also play a critical role in shaping behavior. Cortisol, the body's primary stress hormone, influences alertness, appetite, and reactivity. Oxytocin, sometimes called the bonding hormone, is released during positive social interactions and helps promote feelings of trust and safety. Dopamine drives motivation and seeking behaviors, while serotonin contributes to mood regulation and impulse control. When the balance of these chemicals is disrupted, either by environmental stressors or internal imbalances, behavior naturally shifts. A pet's seeming unpredictability is often the result of an internal system striving to regain homeostasis. Early life experiences further shape behavioral tendencies by wiring certain patterns into the developing brain. Critical periods in puppyhood or kittenhood determine how an animal responds to novelty, social contact, and environmental stimuli later in life. A pet that was under-socialized, exposed to trauma, or separated too early from its mother may display fear-based behaviors or struggle with adaptation even in safe environments. These reactions are not conscious choices. They are rooted in the biology of survival and learning. Neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to rewire itself, is present throughout life but is especially pronounced in the early stages. Understanding this helps us recognize the long-lasting impact of early care and interaction. Pain and discomfort are often overlooked but significant influences on behavior. A pet that suddenly growls when touched, resists being picked up, or avoids activity may not be displaying attitude but signaling physical distress. Since animals cannot verbalize discomfort, changes in posture, appetite, grooming habits, or social engagement become their primary means of communication. Recognizing behavior as a potential symptom of pain requires a shift in how we interpret changes. Veterinary assessment and body awareness are essential tools in decoding what the animal may be trying to express. Sleep, nutrition, and exercise also contribute to behavioral health. Sleep deprivation disrupts cognitive processing and emotional regulation. Poor nutrition can lead to blood sugar imbalances, inflammation, and neurological impact. Lack of exercise results in physical tension, reduced dopamine, and a buildup of energy with no outlet. All of these factors manifest behaviorally, whether in the form of increased reactivity, lethargy, restlessness, or destructiveness. A holistic approach to behavior must take these daily rhythms into account rather than isolating specific incidents. Social dynamics within a household, whether human or animal, affect behavior as well. Pets are attuned to human mood and conflict, often mirroring the emotional climate around them. Multi-pet households present complex social hierarchies, and tension between animals can surface subtly or dramatically. Behavior that seems territorial or possessive may reflect uncertainty about roles or boundaries. Addressing these situations requires more than disciplinary measures. It requires an understanding of group dynamics, individual histories, and emotional needs. By observing behavior through a biological and contextual lens, we gain insight into the underlying systems at play. We begin to see our pets not as problems to be fixed, but as living organisms adapting, communicating, and responding to a world they are trying to understand. Every action is information, and when we approach it with empathy and scientific awareness, we open the door to deeper connection and more effective support. When we bring a pet into our home, we often focus on the immediate responsibilities: feeding, walking, grooming, training. These tasks are tangible, observable, and easily scheduled into daily routines. However, beneath those visible actions lies a deeper, more foundational commitment: the commitment to presence. Being present with a pet means more than physically sharing space. It is a state of attentiveness, receptivity, and emotional availability. Pets live in the moment. They do not carry the baggage of yesterday or anticipate the anxiety of tomorrow. To truly connect with them, we must learn to meet them in that space of now. Presence is not simply about being in the same room while distracted by a screen or running through mental checklists. It is about directing one's attention toward the animal with intention and openness. The difference between absent-mindedly petting a dog while on a call and kneeling down to engage with that same dog with full focus is subtle in action but profound in effect. Animals are highly attuned to our attention. They can sense the difference between distracted energy and genuine engagement. When we offer them the latter, we validate their existence in a way that builds safety and trust. Neurologically, presence calms the nervous system. Our pets, particularly dogs and cats, are wired to co-regulate their emotional states with those of their caregivers. This means that when we are calm, grounded, and emotionally attuned, our pets are more likely to mirror that state. Heart rate, breathing rhythm, muscle tone. These physiological indicators shift in response to human interaction. Studies have shown that when humans and pets engage in calm, mutual attention, both experience a drop in cortisol and an increase in oxytocin, the hormone linked to bonding and emotional security. True presence also allows us to observe more deeply. We begin to notice the micro-expressions in our pets, the small changes in body language that reveal comfort, hesitation, curiosity, or stress. A slight lowering of the tail, the shift in ear direction, the blink of an eye. All of these are signals that can be missed when we are distracted. By being fully present, we gain access to a rich language of communication that transcends words and commands. This observational capacity is what allows us to respond appropriately, whether it's adjusting the environment, offering comfort, or creating space for play. Spending time in presence with a pet is not always active. It can be as simple as sitting on the floor while your cat explores the room, or lying in the grass while your dog sniffs the air around you. These shared moments, where nothing is being asked of the animal and nothing is demanded of the human, are often the most powerful. They are moments of being, not doing. In these spaces, the pet is not a task to be managed or a behavior to be corrected. They are simply a companion, a presence beside your own. This kind of connection also serves to deepen our understanding of ourselves. Animals reflect our energy back to us. If we approach them with impatience, they may respond with avoidance or tension. If we bring fear or agitation, they often mirror that unease. But if we show up with softness, steadiness, and curiosity, they respond in kind. This reflection is not judgment. It is feedback. It offers us a moment to adjust, to pause, to realign. In this way, our pets become silent teachers, helping us become more grounded, more aware, and more emotionally intelligent. Practicing presence requires a conscious shift away from multitasking. It invites slowness, and in a fast-paced world, this is not always easy. But animals live in a world that is richly textured with scent, sound, movement, and energy. To them, the moment is full and alive. When we slow down enough to enter that world, even briefly, we discover a deeper form of companionship, one that is not based on performance, productivity, or expectation, but on mutual recognition. Presence also builds emotional resilience. Pets that experience consistent emotional availability from their humans are better able to handle stress, change, and uncertainty. They learn that their signals will be heard, their needs acknowledged, and their space respected. This sense of predictability and emotional safety becomes a buffer against anxiety and behavioral issues. The animal doesn't need to act out to be noticed. They are already seen. Being present is not something we perfect, but something we return to again and again. Each day offers new chances to practice: a morning cuddle, a mindful walk, a quiet evening together. These are not just nice moments, they are the foundation of the relationship. Through them, we create a sense of belonging, not only for the pet, but for ourselves. In a world that often pulls our attention in every direction, choosing to be fully present with an animal is a radical and healing act.